Welcome to The Exchange, the program where we hope to introduce you to people who can help us get a better understanding of topics that affect our everyday lives. I'm Rob Buckingham and my co-host on The Exchange is my wife, Christy.
I am so looking forward to today's show because I certainly need to get my head around this social media stuff.
On today's show, that's exactly what we're going to be discussing. Social media and the consequences of oversharing online. Are there social and cultural boundaries on what we should be posting on social media? Does anybody really care what I had for dinner last night or what kind of coffee I've just ordered? To discuss this topic, we're thrilled to be joined by a woman who has a wealth of experience in using social media, and that's Sam Mutimer. Welcome, Sam.
Thanks, Rob. Really excited to be here and to have a discussion on social today.
We're also very happy to be joined by Stacey Joyce, who, as well as being a psychologist, is the Senior Education Advisor for the government's CyberSmart programs. Welcome, Stacey. Great to have you.
Thank you so much, Christy. It's exciting.
It's going to be good. But before we get into this discussion, let's take a look at this.
20 years ago, email started to change the way we communicate with each other. Today, social media has exploded and is continuing to change how we communicate. Facebook has over 1 billion active users. We post pictures of our latest meals on Instagram, and we tweet updates that let everyone know what we've been up to. The question is, how much information is too much information?
Oversharing on social media. This is such a current topic. What actually is considered as oversharing on social media? Let's start with you, Sam.
Oh, that's a really great question, because I suppose what I think is oversharing is different to what someone else thinks is oversharing. But pretty much today, people are sharing a lot of information that they weren't obviously 6 or 7 years ago, because we have the opportunities to do it through the technology such as Facebook and Instagram. So as it's said on there, you know, sharing new types of food, sharing where you were at, who you're with, what you're wearing, you want everyone to know.
And is that an age thing? Like you're saying what you think is oversharing is not. So I think oversharing, having baked beans for dinner, is oversharing.
Yeah.
Do you?
I personally would think it is, because it's not really giving me any value. But if you shared me something around, oh, you went to an amazing place in Bali, check out this picture of me in my new bikini. Oh, well, actually, I don't know if I...
Maybe that's not adding value.
That's one thing I would not be posting.
We might need to go for Stacey for some trauma counselling if that was the case.
What do you think, Stacey? What's
I think
oversharing?
that's really interesting, actually, bringing up the bikini example, because there's oversharing in terms of things that, quite frankly, are boring, and then there's oversharing in terms of things that might be unsafe to share with others. So there's quite a distinction.
If it was me.
Oh, absolutely, me as well. So there's a distinction there, and certainly kids and teenagers in particular have a completely different concept of what is too much, and their concept of privacy is completely different to what we grew up with and what we're comfortable with now, or what
and they possibly don't see the sinister side of, you know, of oversharing those sort of things like photographs in bikinis.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you think people do overshare?
I think it's an ego thing, you know. Well, why does anyone share anything really? Because they want some kind of attention or a comment back, or just some kind of response, or for someone to see it.
You just feel good about the number of likes you get and get a little bit of an adrenaline rush.
So that's fascinating. You think it's ego and not a desire to connect. You think it's showing off.
A lot of the stuff I see these days, I think, is more showing off than a desire to connect. I think with the, well, not the older generation, but with your, you know, 35 upwards, it's probably more on a connection basis, but definitely, you know, 16 to 24-year-olds, more on, yeah, this is who I'm with, this is what I'm wearing, this is what I'm eating, check me out.
Right.
Would you agree with that, Stacey?
Certainly it is a way to connect, and I guess some of the research is showing that kids who are more disconnected actually benefit greatly from being on social networking and things that we think might be a bit scary for them and we want to protect them from because of cyberbullying. Actually, they need to be connected, because the online world now forms part of their broader sense of identity, that sense of self. They also have a bit more control over how they present themselves. Online, certainly there is a degree of ego and showing off, but you know, that age of adolescence where you're trying to define yourself and show yourself in a certain light, suddenly you can do it online. You can post photos that are only flattering of yourself. You know, you can think about your comments before you post them. You can check how many other people have liked certain clips or certain music, so that you know that you're within the norm.
But if you have control over the photographs, you can do that. Tell me, what are some of the most inappropriate things that you've seen, Sam?
I think one that we stumbled across a couple of weeks ago was on Instagram. It's a really popular platform for younger younger children, 13 to about 18. Generally speaking, even though there's a
Yes.
lot more people on it. But yeah, we just found that there was lots of pictures around young girls just taking photos of themselves and using certain hashtags, which are comment threads, to get attention around, like if you haven't eaten for today. And, you know, those types of pictures where you think, wow, you know, online privacy is pretty much dead, and these young girls are putting it out there to get attention, to motivate them forwards with this disease.
Oh, that is tragic. Yeah, that is unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's still really underground. Like, there's not a lot of, I suppose, parents that even know about this. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Stacey, what's the worst example you've seen of oversharing?
Yeah, probably similar things like that. The more dangerous stuff, the bullying and the violent and sexual content that you see online now, some from teens or even younger than that, is really concerning. And there is a move towards things like Instagram now, because all the adults are on Facebook, so it's not as cool anymore. But what they don't realise is when they put a hashtag on their photo, it suddenly becomes what they think is private is now public. And yeah, there are some really disturbing things out there. But
We need to be cautious.
Absolutely.
Do people actually think about what they put up and the consequences of it for the future?
I think the majority of people don't. Even an example yesterday around a Brisbane player that used to play for Melbourne Demons just put something out when Mark Neeld got sacked. You know, we see it in the, you know, people that are in the limelight all the time, celebrities and such, at times just put out their comments and don't think of the consequences. And I think we're all guilty of it, and it's more of an education thing. It's around knowing that if you put something out there, you're kind of leaving that digital footprint, and whether you're 16 and you're looking for a job in the next couple of years, your employer can Google you and find out the types of pictures you're putting out, who you're hanging out with. Yeah, I think a lot of the time we forget before we post, because we think
and
it's just our friends.
you can know it, but I've talked to my 15-year-old daughter about this. She knows some of this stuff, but does it change the actions? And this is what you'd be dealing with, Stacey.
No, not always, especially with teens. That if it's not an immediate, you know, response, then really, what's the risk to them? And they're seeing celebrities doing all sorts of heinous things that we wouldn't think of doing, with no negative consequence. So it is hard for us to educate them about those potential consequences down the track.
There does seem to be, with some people anyway, a disconnect between what they're putting up and reality. Like I know of people who have been taking a sickie, told their boss that they're sick, and then tweeted or put on Facebook pictures of them at the cricket, for example, and then being given the sack.
Yeah.
Does that happen very much?
I think there aren't a lot of examples, but there certainly are examples, and that's a case of people not getting that. Although it's online, it's still real life. It's part of real life, and people are going to see it. You just need one friend from work, one person from work to be your friend, and they can share that with anyone they want.
Yeah.
And just to add to that point, there's a lot of big brands and, well, businesses that now have social media policies. So making sure that employees are aware of the fact that if they do join that organisation, they know what they can and can't do on social networking sites. And they can breach those. If they breach those policies, then they can get the sack.
And there'd be some companies that would prohibit social media during work time and all of that kind of thing as well, I would imagine.
We've just got a question in on Facebook which says, do we believe that social media can actually contribute towards divorce?
Absolutely.
You'd say yes?
Yes.
And for what reason?
There's so many tools out there these days. There's, I don't know if I can delve into exactly what those tools are in terms of social networking platforms, but there's some that really push you to the edge about what you're going to share from a picture, and it can be sent to someone else, and you get to see that picture for like 6 seconds and it gets disappeared. But yeah, I do believe for sure, because you can connect in the moment. You can send photos that are a bit raunchy and they're gone in 6 seconds.
And you think that they're gone, but they're not dead.
They're not. You think they're gone, but anyone could screenshot them.
Wow.
And that social network
gone,
holds those
ultimately, is it?
photos.
Yeah. And even we've heard of people who have contacted people through Facebook, maybe old
friends,
boyfriends or friends, and rekindle something.
All it takes is someone going out and one of your friends taking a picture of you, maybe with someone that you're having an affair with, and tagging you on Facebook. That goes onto your Facebook newsfeed, and boom, your husband or your wife sees it, and that's it.
Or somebody that you just out chatting with, and then it just, spirals out of control, and if there's other issues in the marriage as well.
Just before we go to the break, Stacey, have you seen this in your own work?
Not in our work. I mean, we
Okay.
focus mostly on children. We do focus on parents,
So your
luckily,
kids are
so
not
we
getting
don't
divorced.
have to.
Yeah, that's good news.
No, but certainly I've heard of examples of friends, of husbands rekindling old school romances, and
Yeah.
but I mean, and I guess that's the fact is we're evolving into a digital society now, and we have to get up to speed with that and realise that everything we do is part of
Yeah.
our life.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not separate.
Great discussion, and we'll be back with more shortly. You're on The Exchange. Welcome back to The Exchange. We're having a great discussion here with Sam Mutimer and Stacey Joyce about the boundaries and potential dangers of oversharing on social media. Now, Sam, you're the Director of Social Media at Think Tank Social.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, basically we're a social media agency, so what that means is that we work with businesses and organisations to build up social media policies, act on their behalf, for example, on platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and to train up their staff as well around, compliance and governance and the important stuff that
Okay.
businesses need to be aware of.
So you work with your clients on all of that kind of stuff?
Yes.
That sounds absolutely
So is
fascinating.
it mainly corporations that you do this for?
Bigger
or-
brands and government agencies,
Fantastic. That's interesting.
Wonderful. Now, Christy and I were having a conversation this morning in the car, weren't we? About
We were saying if you are away and you are Googling sitting now in the South China Sea, are you actually giving an invite to your local burglar to come and burgle your home?
If you
put something
if
like
you
that
put it
on
If you
out-
put something like that, yes.
Twitter or Facebook or something.
Oh, potentially, yes. And I hear under the radar that there's a few insurance companies that might be bringing that into one of their clauses now. Like if you actually check into a place and your house gets burgled, you may potentially not be able to claim for that because you've told everyone you're not home.
That you're not home.
But that's just what I've heard on the radar. I'm not saying that's
Yeah.
happening.
Yes,
But yeah.
But it does make sense. It makes sense that
Yeah.
you're telling everybody that you're not going to be home, you're on holiday.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's fascinating. And the whole area of privacy, of course, with children, Stacey, the privacy settings on social media and all of that.
Yeah.
How do you see that working and maybe working better in the future?
Working better in the future. I think it's from our perspective, it's all about educating them about what the risks might be and what the immediate risks are for them. And I know checking in and having your geolocation on your devices is so popular. People love, kids love checking in, letting others know what they're up to and what they're doing. And more, we've just done some research recently, more and more are putting their personal information online and really not seeing that great risk. To them, they think that as adults we're overreacting. Really to them, the great risk is offline, with sexual predators and being kidnapped and things like that. To them, they'll be able to
They're not
block
thinking.
that before they get offline.
And is that the reason? Is the reason that they don't want to block that is they're worried about missing out on what everybody's doing?
Absolutely. Again, it's about their identity, and also they don't see the risk in the way that we do.
Great discussion. We'll be back with more of this shortly. But right now, it's time for Street Talk on The Exchange.
Social media is here to stay. It isn't just a passing fad. It's influencing our everyday. But does that mean that we need to share every detail with everyone? What information do you share on social media?
My information is quite limited as social media owns your information once you put it on there, so I kind of limit what I put on TV. I mean, on the internet, on Facebook, for example.
Just normal day-to-day things, occasional statuses, event information, stuff like that, nothing too personal.
And I'm not too popular, so I don't really talk to that many people. I really just talk to her.
Not too much, mostly just kind of vacations, what I like to do for fun. Nothing too personal.
Nothing really. I mainly use it for organising events and social things with my friends, but otherwise I really saw the point with statuses and whatnot, so I don't really have much to share with people.
I'm from New Zealand, so I like to talk to family from New Zealand and friends and stuff, but I don't tend to share things that aren't really important for other people to know.
What information do you share on social media?
Where I go to dinner, what I'm doing on holidays, how many hours a night I sleep. Is that enough? Or is it
Sounds good to me.
It's maybe too much.
Photos of friends, we're from New Zealand, so it's, going out and what we do over here in Melbourne and overseas and all that. It's good for our families to be able to see what we're up to.
Pretty much the same really, or otherwise just little video clips, what we take on our phone, and pictures, all very much the same. So
probably too much, to be honest. Yeah, we share sort of check-ins where we're at, and other things, music, interests.
What do you think is oversharing? What have you seen that you're going, why on earth is that there?
Breakfasts, if they feel sick, if they got their dog washed, I saw once. I thought that was pointless.
There are those people who do like nude shots and stuff, and yeah, it kind of gets a little weird.
Probably what does my head in on Facebook is when people start sharing their family issues to everybody. It's sort of like time and a place, you don't really need to be doing that.
Private information in general, but even when people change their status, I find that funny, but that's just me.
Like when we go on holiday, because people can know that your house is empty and they can steal from you.
Nudity, but not we really do that very often anyway.
Well, what do you think is too much information on social media?
Who you've had a special cuddle with that night. I reckon that people who put negative stuff on social media, that's a rule that I have. I never put anything negative unless there's something funny you can say about something or something nice. Maybe it's just old school manners, I suppose. Just don't say it at all.
Some really interesting comments and opinions there. Time to welcome our Street Talk reporter, Sandra Cavallo.
Hi, how you
Good to have
going?
you, Sandra. That was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was interesting.
What about the girl in the blue who said she showed limited stuff because she knew that everybody owned it?
Yeah, well, I actually thought that the people I spoke to on the streets were quite smart about it. I was actually expecting a lot more, oh yeah, I post this and that, and not actually thinking it through. But a lot of the younger ones tend to think, yeah, well, I'm not going to tell people when I'm on holidays.
Thanks to people like Stacey.
Yeah, your programs are working.
Thank you.
But something that really struck me was the last person who said, you know, we need to have some old school manners on social media.
Yes.
And just to think about that, is there etiquette around social media? Is there something that we actually need to write about what is appropriate?
Yeah. What would you say, Stacey?
I think it comes back to the fact that social media is no different to being offline, and really we should be using the same manners and the same respect that we use offline. Online, you know, our online behaviour should not differ, and the same goes for parenting. I know a lot of parents are scared about Facebook and all the other social networking, and they think they don't know what their kids are up to. The parenting is no different. You still need to set boundaries. You do need to know what they're doing, and the expectations of their behaviour shouldn't be any different.
Should you be your child's friend on Facebook?
That's a really interesting one. We had one of my colleagues' sons come for work experience with us, and he wrote a blog about how embarrassing it is that his mum, you know, likes his things on Facebook or comments. Some recent research shows that most kids accept that their parents are going to be their friend on Facebook. They kind of accept it as long as they don't humiliate them by adding comments or liking things. If they keep a low profile, then that's fine, and it is a good way of knowing, you know, what's going on in your kid's life.
And Sam, what do you recommend in regard to etiquette online personally with your clients?
Well, I think it's exactly the same as if you're not going to say it face to face, then don't say it at all. And obviously nowadays with social media being open and online privacy pretty much being dead, what we usually recommend to employees is to have that really strict policy, and for all of the employees to know exactly what they can and can't say. Are they allowed to actually put where they work on their Facebook job description? You know, even down to the slightest amount of detail, because if you start commenting on another brand's page and being a troll, then that brand can go and click on you and go, oh, she works there.
Ah, okay, so that should be possibly in contracts at the beginning.
Absolutely, and more and more brands now are becoming really savvy about it, which is a great thing to see, and it needs to, it needs to be done. So
it is a whole new world, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's one that we're going to constantly have to maybe rewrite the rules for. And the boundaries as well. Sandra, thank you so much.
It was great being here.
Wonderful. We'll see you next time on The Exchange. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Welcome back to The Exchange, where our guests, social media professional Sam Mutimer and Cybersmart Stacey Joyce, have been giving their advice on how to use social media wisely and not overshare. This is such a massive topic. Yeah. And really, Christy, you're a bit of a late bloomer when it comes to social media, aren't you?
I am totally a late bloomer. I have only just gone on Facebook after fighting it for years and years and years. But now I'm bombarded with, it's not just Facebook, it's Instagram, it's Twitter. Where do I go, guys? For people who are just getting on, where's the future? What do you focus on?
that's a great question, Chrissy.
There you go. I haven't got a magic ball, I'm sorry, but need to hear what you have
let's
to say.
pretend you have one right here.
Yes.
People these days are hanging out in kind of like digital tribes. So
digital tribes, I have not heard of this.
You heard it here first.
Okay.
So look, if they're into motivation and inspiration, they're probably going to head towards a social networking platform called Pinterest, which is growing, predominantly in the female market.
Yes, I know about that.
You do?
Yes.
You're not so green after all.
There you go.
If you're into visuals and you like to think you're a photographer, you're probably going to head towards Instagram. If you want your news and your updates really quickly before it hits traditional media, you're probably going to head on to Twitter. And Facebook is more around connection, family, friends. This is what I'm doing. More of that information.
So there's the same thing, but they have different values, really.
Definitely,
uses.
and they light different people up. So not everyone's going to be on Facebook because it doesn't give them something. Whereas Pinterest may assist them to organise their wedding because they've pinned a dress, they've pinned the shoes, they've pinned.
I'm using it right now to remodel my office. That's
go.
how I know about it.
There you go.
What about Reddit?
Reddit, it's still up in the top 20 for social networks, but it's more, I think it's a place where more developers tend to head these days in terms of, what's the most popular blog posts, and you can just, add a Reddit to it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, Stacey, let's get your insight into that, the future of social media and where you think the future may be.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the future, but I know our trainers go into schools and talk to the kids, and they're using quite different things probably to adults. I know Instagram is big with the older ones, but with the little ones, it's a lot of apps that are free, of course, things like Kik and Snapchat. And increasingly they're connecting with people through games like Minecraft. So parents need to be aware that they can talk to people they don't know online.
And that is a concern, as is Snapchat. In the break we were talking about Snapchat. Just fill us in on that.
So Snapchat is it's a photo sharing application. So you take a photo, you send it to a friend, and you can set the time so it disappears in 3 seconds, 6 seconds or 9 seconds. You can add a little bit of text to it, and then supposedly the user thinks it's gone. But what you can actually do is screenshot it. So something that I may send to you, which is personal and private, it may be a little bit kinky. I probably won't be sending that to you.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad we cleared that
up. You can actually screenshot that and put it up on your Facebook page and say, look at what Sam just sent me. Whereas I think it's just between us two and the messages disappeared or the pictures disappeared.
And it will be out there as well for other people to retrieve, potentially.
Absolutely, and Snapchat are just going, thank you very much. They're just taking all those photos, all of that information.
So privacy going forward is really, really important, isn't it? To protect our children.
Absolutely, and it's really technology neutral, because with the children that we see in schools, every 6 months the popular technologies change completely, and usually they're well ahead of the research and the media that we hear. The kids are onto this stuff way before any of us are. So it has to be technology neutral skills.
We've got to go, but I just want to hear one or two very quick things. What can we expect in the future from you, Sam?
Okay, what can we expect? Augmented reality. What that means is we could be walking down a street and businesses could be sending us push notifications, so deals on restaurants.
As we walk past. Okay. Holograms.
Holograms. Google Glass is coming out shortly.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's going to be a lot more of a digital world now.
It's very exciting.
In the real world.
We're going to have to get you guys back, but Stacey and Sam, thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah, it's been absolutely awesome having you. It's been great.
It's been wonderful. Please go to our website to find out more about social media from today's guests and for more information about this show, The Exchange. We look forward to seeing you next time.
See you then.